Why is the 450 SEL 6.9 so worthless? I said it. 6.9s are cheap. You can go out and buy an average to bad 6.3 for excellent 6.9 money. And I have never figured out why this is. I think it has a combination. There's a combination effect here. The fact it's a 116, which doesn't have the insanely beautiful classic looks of the 109, but also the amount of difficulty getting parts and service for the 6.9 as opposed to a 6.3. And finally, some of the degrees of complication built into the 6.9, I think, have held it back. The 6.9 is a combination of boring, everyday 116 and insanely over-the-top advanced technology. And there's really not much in between. So for the time, the advanced technology part of the 6.9 would be the suspension. It would be the fuel injection. It would be the climate control, because nobody understands how it works. So I would call it over the top and advanced, because even in 1985, when the cars were like 5 years old, when the newest 6.9 was 5 years old, it's starting to need climate control repairs. Not a lot of people really understood the system. In addition to all of this, the 6.9 has some really boring features. It has a Saginaw air pump that you could find on any American car. It has a fairly conventional and wear-prone 116 steering box, which isn't bad, but again, they're known for wearing out on center. It uses a giant Frigidaire A6 AC compressor, which is great because it makes buckets of cold air, but it's also no fun to change that thing. That sucker is mounted in a way where changing it is just torture. There's no easy way to deal with it. To make everything even more complicated on the 6.9, there is neither a good new part supply from Mercedes for most items that are unique to the 6.9, nor items that are unique to the 116. But does this make the 6.9 a throwaway car? Does it take the reward or the fun out of owning the car? Not really. I think that owning a 6.9 is a lot like owning a private jet. You have to have a service plan for the car. You have to know who you're going to take it to before you buy it. You have to budget more money for maintenance and use than you would actually acquiring it over a period of time. And in addition, the 6.9, while it does handle and drive well, you have to stay on top of its maintenance because it could become extremely unreliable, which could result in a disaster. We have worked through and figured out a solution for almost all of the problems on the 6.9 that we have encountered in our shop. So the 6.9 has very specific suspension protocols that have to be followed. When a strut starts to leak, you can't go buy a new one. You have to send generally any hydraulic suspension part to Martin Worminghausen at 600 Air Suspension, which, at some point I need to do a video on our select service providers, the people that provide rebuilding or reconditioning services for the parts in our cars. And I think that 600 Air Suspension would top the list because they, Martin himself has like reverse engineered so many things. So without him, we couldn't even have a service plan for the 6.9. But other items like the climate control, there's a great website called mbdiesel1.com that's #1. And they provide rebuilt climate control servos. You can buy diaphragms for the vacuum parts from Klima Design Works. They sell a great silicon diaphragm that's probably still going to be working in 20 years. The other items that occasionally have to be reconditioned on the 6.9, like steering boxes. We go to C&M Hydraulics out in Las Vegas. There are so many items on that car you have to have a plan of attack for. And all in all, if you know who to work with, whether it's CIS Flowtech for your fuel distributor or CV Source for your rear axles or whatever. There's a way to deal with every item that wears out in a 6.9 or develops wear and tear issues. But for the most part, because you can't just go into most shops that service foreign luxury cars don't want to touch a 6.9, and most shops that restore Mercedes don't want to touch a 6.9. So it ends up in this weird gray area where you have shops like Classic Workshop, or you know, I could think of some others, European Auto Solutions, the last Mercedes. There are a few shops dotted throughout the country that will service these cars, but by and large, they are quite expensive and quite time consuming. So a lot of shops don't want to deal with them. And even when we know we have a 6.9 coming in, we have to prepare for it months in advance. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video exciting and interesting. If you're considering buying a 6.9, you should consider buying a bunch of tools and books and setting aside time every week to work on the car. We are so happy that you guys checked it on this channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy working on and preserving your classic Mercedes.